What's going on YouTube? It's Mr. Ferguson here. Once again, welcome back to my fescue lawn here in central North Carolina. Hope you're having a great day. It is wet and nasty out here. We have this big low coming up from the south of Florida. A lot of severe weather happening today in my area. Nothing annoys me more than wind chimes when it's windy and you're trying to make a video. Thank you for tuning in today. Hope you guys, thank you for whoever the ones or twos are like, Mr. Ferguson, thanks for putting out the videos, during this winter months. I don't know if a lot of YouTubers do it during this time, but to me, the more you keep your mind focused on the lawn care as much as you can, maybe it ain't a priority right now, but your mind is in mode of, okay, this is what I got to do when the time comes. And that time will creep up on us if we don't be aware of, if we're not aware of it. So thank you to those that enjoy the content. I hope you are still enjoying it, though it's cold outside. I know some of you said you got 12 inches of snow or inches of snow on the ground in your lawn. Hey, I don't know much about what that's like here in North Carolina. I quickly want to address the topic of seeding in the spring. And it's kind of a big topic. There's a lot of areas and factors you can talk about when we're talking about seeding in the springtime. First off, who should seed in the springtime, or should we seed in the springtime? Well, I think the first thing that we always talk about is the number one thing is we always want to seed our fescue in the fall time. That's when you want to do your fescue seeding. Yes, Mr. Garbage Man's here, so we'll let them do their thing, but you always want to seed your fescue in fall. Why do we want to do it? Number one, because of temperatures. It's ideal temperatures to grow your grass in the fall time. And during that time in fall, you're giving, September, October, November, December, January, February, getting into March, and then April. All of those months, that cool season turf that you plant in the fall is beginning to establish roots. So planting in the fall time is ideal. Now, sometimes when we plant in the fall, we have washouts. We try to spot seed and catch it before the temperature, really gets cold. Depending on where we live, that can be easier. Like me, it's pretty easy. It can be more difficult for folks that are up north. You don't have the time to fix your reseeding. You've got limited time in the fall. It's a short window. And so the spring is when you're like, well, I've got to overseed in the spring. Now, there's a whole nother caveat of people that just walk out when it's warm outside and they get that spring bite. And I've talked about it on many videos here on my channel. They're like, all right, spring's here, time to plant my fescue seed. And it's not necessarily ever the right time to do that. Well, why not, Mr. Ferguson? Or why is it wrong? Why are you saying it's wrong to seed in spring? It's not necessarily wrong. It's just bad timing. The correct time is in fall because, again, we establish those roots over a long period of time. So when spring comes and it zips back to life and growth begins to happen again, we've got established roots that have been driving a little bit deeper each and every day for months on end, where when we plant in spring, we have a very short window until the next season, which is what? Summer. So summer, high heat, direct sunlight, humidity, dryness, lack of rain here in North Carolina. And so when you try to plant grass in spring, it grows. It has a very few short weeks to get deeply rooted. It's never going to be rooted like it would be if you planted that seed in the fall. That's why fall is time to seed. Now, and most of the and the example I use is my neighbors that have moved away. They had their kid playing soccer, and in the spring they planted some ryegrass or something out there. They threw it out, and again, same thing. I watched it. I said, okay, if this theory from these professionals are true, this grass should die out. And surely enough, 90% of that grass died out. The sun scorched it. It wasn't watered. They didn't water it. They weren't going to water it. We get lack of rain. We don't get a lot of natural rain during this time. And the heat is so strong, the roots have not gotten deep enough that it just scorches and kills it. And it was a total waste of that seed, total waste of the money. And so that's the reason why we say don't seed in spring. Now, if you've got patches from the fall and you're like, hey, I want to fill this in, go for it, try it. But you need to understand, you need to really push that grass to get deep. Using RGS is my recommendation. Using some CK, making sure your potassium stress levels are good so that grass has the best effort or chance to survive. But know that it's likely it may not survive because it doesn't have enough time to really get deep and establish before summer comes. Again, this is location based. It is so true here for North Carolina. It may be easier or better for you up north. Now, some of the things that I've learned here in North Carolina is down by my shed. Normally it's in the background of my videos. I've got a real shady area. Well, in the springtime, I took some dense shade mix and planted it out there. And guess what? The sun and now the leaves begin to come back on the trees. It begins to kind of block the sun there. And I was able to go down and water, and it pretty much established and stayed. And so there are caveats to this. There are areas that may be super shady in your lawn, and you can block, and it blocks the sun, and the sun won't scorch it and won't kill it because it doesn't have access to direct sunlight. And so there are caveats to this. Let me address one more topic as far as spring seeding, and that is aerating. See, what we're about to do here in my lawn is, number one, I will never aerate in spring. When you begin to open up your dirt, you begin to give access to the sun and to the dirt. You're accessing those crabgrass seeds, those weed seeds. You're giving it life. It is laying dormant in the ground, and when we run our aerator, even in the fall, when you run our aerator, we're giving, the light, the sunlight, the moisture. It begins to activate seeds that may or may not have been exposed to the air and to the sun. And so aerating has pros and cons, but especially in spring, you're opening it up for weeds to be in your lawn during the springtime. Your ideal time to really aerate is during the fall. So when we aerate in the fall, yes, Poa annua could be an issue. So when we aerate and you overseed, you can expect, you may see some Poa triv begin to come up. You may say, hey, I didn't have Poa annua, but now I do. What happened? Remember the video. I'll never forget. Pete on his channel was digging lines for his irrigation, and he showed, he dug it in the summertime, I believe. He used a machine, dug the piping, put the piping all through his lawn, covered it back up, reseeded, everything came up great. But guess what? In the cold months, he had Poa annua popping up everywhere where he dug, only where he dug. He exposed and turned over that dirt, and all of a sudden, now you got little unseeable to the eye Poa annua seeds begin to pop up. And he's like, look at that. And he filmed it somewhere in his channel, but he said, look, everywhere where I dug this PVC pipe, I've got Poa annua popping up. Be aware of that. Now, that's why in the springtime, I do pre-emergent, which we talked about previously. We're getting ready to do prediamine. Prediamine, we're going to put that down, and it's going to last for many, many months to begin to stop the germination of crabgrass before it ever gets started, and many broadleaf weeds, dandelions, onions, all those things, broadleaf weeds. We're stock clovers. The pre-emergent prevents all of that from ever coming up. So you don't want to necessarily overseed in the spring. You really want to do pre-emergent. So what you have and what you planted in the fall time, now you're protecting the weeds from invading it in the spring, the crabgrass. And so our pre-emergent helps us go all the way into summer with everybody walking by your lawn saying, man, he ain't got many weeds or any weeds in that lawn. How does he do that? They're going to be questioning, because everybody else, they're going to have weeds pop up. Everybody else, it's not planing grass. They're going to have the discolored, the warm season and cold season lawns together with onions and dandelions and all types of purple, violet weeds and everything. But you won't, because you've got the knowledge, and this is what we want to say. So when we talk about seeding, it's not necessarily, boy, you better not seed. I'm very cautious to tell anyone to seed in the spring, and I believe so is many of the major lawn care companies and YouTubers. It's just something where you got to be, if you're in North Carolina, it's extremely difficult because the sun is likely going to kill that seed. And that's why I did the spot seeding. That's why I pull up the Poa triv in October, November, December, and I'm replanting these. Even our little test GCI new blend that we're going to see if it spreads right here, we're pulling up this triv during the cold months, like right now. Even now is better than doing it in spring, in my opinion, because yes, it may slowly come up and slowly begin to get roots, and then spring it takes off, but you're developing the roots so that it has the best chance to survive summer. And really with the fescue lawn in North Carolina, Southern Virginia, and other areas here, that's the goal. We're trying to survive summer. We're trying to keep that grass established. It becomes thick. We don't have to overseed every year going down the road. I overseeded for 3 or 4 years, and the last 2, I think it's 3 years, the last 2 I've not, because I've put so much seed in, and we've survived some summers now that we're not thinning out as much as we used to. But spring is not the ideal time. But again, if you've got really shady areas that you would say, hey, I believe I can try it here, go for it. But I hope it's money you're willing to part ways with if the sun comes. Excuse me, if the sun comes and scorches it and gets a hold of it, because the roots are not deep enough, it can kill it. So be aware of that. Share that with your neighbors. Share that with your buddies. Let them know. Tune them into the channel and say, hey, this guy just talks about lawn care and is getting ready for spring. Now's a good time to tune in. Even now, remember, spring is when I started. It's when I walked out and said, I'm going to try to have a nice lawn. And then when I found out the best time to seed fescue is fall, I'm like, well, crap. Now, what do I do now? And that's a whole nother topic. But basically, deal with what you have this spring. Pre-emergent, put pre-emergent, deal with what you got. And it's not ideal. And I was so anxious to get to fall. Man, I'm ready to seed. I bought my seed real early. I brought all my biostimulants, but I had to deal with what I had, and I made it look as best I could. I bought my Lorgonite. I even fertilized the fescue that I had, and you guys have seen some of the pictures like this. It looked decent because it looked like this guy was trying to take care of his yard, but everything wasn't the same grass type, and it wasn't great. But then came fall, and we got to work, and we started the process of what we've got here today. And you guys have seen the awesome pictures that we've had of the GCI turf and triple threat and spreader elite and all those other grass types that we've sown in this lawn. So I hope that makes sense. Hope that's a great video for you. I think it's great information to be able to pass along with your buddies. Maybe you go to McDonald's and have a biscuit with your buddies, or play cards, or go watching the NFL playoffs. These are some things you can share. Hey, check out Mr. Ferguson. Subscribe to his channel. He's a good guy. He just wants to help people. Yeah, that's me. So here in North Carolina, and we support Israel, and we support the Lord Jesus Christ and all the craziness that's going on in the world around us. So some people like that, some people don't, but hey, it's just who I am and what I do. So God bless you guys. I hope you have a fantastic Wednesday. Hope you enjoy this video. Again, I'm putting out videos when I feel like I've got a good topic to bring to you that's worth your time. If not, you may not see a video. Don't stress. We'll be back on the next one. So God bless you. See you next time.